What is up, guys, and welcome back to another Honda video. So in this one we're going to be continuing the spoiler, fixing, painting, mounting. Mounting is going to turn out to be more difficult than I actually thought. Hopefully the background noise isn't too bad. My dad's cutting the grass. He does love his lawn. It's very green. Anyway, yeah, so we got to mount this spoiler, and it turns out it's going to be pretty difficult because it has studs in the bottom, and these studs in the bottom, it's kind of hard to like set it up. Like, I watch people have nuts in the bottoms of their spoilers typically, and you're able to make like a tab thing and put it down and then tape it, and then you can remove it, but I can't do that. So what I ended up doing was just kind of putting it where I think, which is kind of tough because there's like this curvature to the actual deck lid here, and like the spoiler kind of wraps just a little bit, and you know, it's hard to find out forward or backwards where I want it. So I have it pretty much centered, this hole right here, and that's like I measured from here to here and here to here to make sure that it's the same, and it is. And so what I did was I just put tape, and then I put the spoiler on top, and I just banged on it a couple of times to try to get a little indentation, and it worked pretty good. So we were able to mark those with Sharpie, and now I guess I'm just gonna drill. But the only thing that I'm a bit concerned about is what I'm gonna have to do is, if you look, this whole area right here is kind of, it starts to get big here, so I may have to hollow this out a little bit to actually get you know, a nut on the back side of this. I'm not really sure because it's going to be kind of crooked, so I guess we'll just have to see when I come through. And then as far as the center one, I don't really know how I'm going to even get to that, because that's like right there. That's like, I don't know, maybe I'll be able to get to it, hopefully. And then obviously this side's going to be the same way, so we're just going to have to drill through till we come through both panels, and maybe we got to widen it out down there so I can get the nut in there, or figure something out. Alright guys, so that is what it looks like all mounted up with my holes. I think I like it. I think it's pretty good. Of course, I'm not entirely happy. I think it should be a little bit more to the left, but you know, it's not the end of the world. It's off by maybe a 1/16 or like, you know, something like that, but it looks really good. It's an interesting gap from this side, but yeah, I think once everything's painted it'll probably look a little better. I wish it was maybe a little bit more molded on this side. Maybe that's my fault for the way I glued it, but it is what it is. I think it looks good. Yeah, I like it. Mainly I wanted it to look good from the back, which it does. So yeah, I think it's pretty sweet. So I'm gonna see what the underside looks like and see if I can bolt this thing up. If I can, then I'm ready to prime it and we're good to go. So this is where I'm at with this thing. I do have it bolted down, and you know, I'm just trying to work out all the gaps. It fits tight on this side, as opposed to this side is kind of spaced up a little bit more. I'm not sure if that's because of the way it's mounted forward to backwards, or I'm not really sure, but I know the spoiler needs to come this way, just maybe a 1/16, maybe even less, maybe a 32nd. It needs to come this way. And yeah, so I was able to use the trunk adjusters to bring the side of the trunk up a little bit, because it was so low here that it was like almost hitting. So trying to avoid hitting the side of the car every time I close the trunk, because this is like a nice tight fitting spoiler. But all in all, it looks pretty good. I have both the side ones bolted in, but not the center one, so the center will still come down just a little bit. But overall, that's about what it's gonna look like. I'm pretty stoked, honestly. I'm sure it looks way better on camera than it does in person. But yeah, I think the fitment is pretty good. I'm really stoked. I think it's gonna look great once it's painted and everything. Yeah, I guess it looks exactly like I thought it would, just like all the pictures. But it's just got to be painted. So that's probably what we're gonna work on now. I'm gonna see if I can go inside, clean up the garage a little bit. Maybe I'll shoot some primer on this thing tonight. And yeah, I'm gonna prime the holes that I did end up making. Let me show you guys. So the trunk's pretty heavy now. It doesn't pop open anymore. It's got this big heavy spoiler on it. But yeah, so here's one of the holes. That's where it ended up coming through. And there's another one up in here. And here's this one right here. So yeah, I did end up enlarging them a little bit. And I might enlarge them just a little bit more so I can shift it just a little bit that way. And yeah, I'm pretty stoked though. It looks really good. Looks really sweet. It's gonna be nice once it's painted. But yeah, I'll show you guys when I close it now. I don't believe that it hits. Yeah, no, it doesn't hit, so that's pretty awesome. And it looks like once I push the center down a little bit, it looks like that's gonna pull that side out. It looks like it'll pull both sides out a little bit. So we'll see what, if I tighten the center down, maybe we'll have a little bit better fitment. But yeah, that'll all come eventually. I can always fit it really good later on. But yeah, for now, just gonna get this thing primed and we can worry about fitment later. And then we gotta have it fitted obviously before it's finished painted, because I don't want to be scratching everything up. But yeah, so looking good. I'm gonna go ahead and pull it back off, and I'm gonna prime the holes that I made in the car so none of that rusts, and then we can move on to the spoiler. Alright, so I'm ready to throw some primer on this thing. I got it propped up on a couple of vice grips that are clamped, and I already went ahead and wiped it down. I'm gonna hit it with a tack rag really quick. See if I can find a new spot on here. Just like this. And I'm going to go over this thing with a tack rag just to make sure that, you know, there's no dust on it. Not as important with primer, but still, I don't want any dust on it, so. Alright, so it is the following day. I painted it last night. I let it sit and dry, and we're fully dry now, obviously, a day later. And you know, I'm pretty happy with the paint job. I'm not sure if you'll be able to pick it up on camera, but there are some pinholes. I don't think it's going to focus there, but you may be able to see that there's pinholes right here and a few right here. Like, they just didn't really fill in with the primer, so I didn't really know that they were there until I was priming. Not a huge deal, but a little bit of a bummer. And I went really thick over here to try to get this one filled in, but didn't quite get it. But what I'll do once I do sand this is I'll hit it with the glazing putty, and I'll fill all these in before I even start sanding. And then, you know, hopefully I get all of them, and then once we sand, we should have a nice surface to hit our base coat on. So pretty happy with that. It's not bolted down yet. I did come out last night and just prime these areas. I've been widening the holes just because I want it to fit perfect, and right now I feel like it sits a little bit too far that way, so I kind of want it to go that way a little bit. But I don't know, I think I might be okay with it. The wings kind of look evenly spaced away from the quarters, like right here. It's even here and here. So the other thing that I was unhappy with the fitment of is like that little notch right there kind of sits a little bit further over on this side of the trunk. It's kind of flush, and this side over here doesn't quite sit like that. I'll show you guys after, but this kind of sits a little bit further in. So I think maybe what I'll do is sand or grind this side a little bit to try to make it look like the other side. And then I think our fitment will be pretty good, because I mean the trunk isn't exactly straight in here. I might be able to adjust it left a little bit. I don't really know, but we'll see. Right now I'm happy with it. It's a really old car, so panel fitment isn't going to be the best, But as of right now, I'm just gonna sand this stuff up right here. There's like a burr on it from me drilling, and I'm gonna sand those up, and then I'm gonna shoot some more primer on it, let that dry for a few minutes, and then I'm gonna smack this guy on. I was thinking about putting a little bit of like foam tape on the underside of it, so it doesn't rub on the trunk. Not that I care about the paint on the trunk, but I don't want to mess up my primer. Yeah, I think it would just be good. It would keep it from rattling. So I think that'll be good. That's my plan there. Another thing that I realized is I'm kind of dumb because these studs actually unscrew. So there's actually nuts that are fiberglassed into the spoiler, and these are actually studs, and they have a hex head on them, if you could see that, and you can actually unscrew them. So it would have been way easier to fit this thing, and I probably would have got it much straighter if I had pulled the studs out and then put it on without it, and then I would be able to make like tape tabs and stuff like that. But it is what it is. You live and learn, I guess. I already drilled the holes. It doesn't fit that bad, so I am happy. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and sand that stuff down, shoot some primer, let it dry, and then I'll bolt it on fully and show you guys what it looks like. So guys, it is fully mounted. I have all 3 bolts with nuts on them all tightened down. This is how it's gonna sit. I'm really stoked. It looks really good, honestly, for, you know, a knockoff Mugen spoiler. It looks pretty dang awesome. I'm pumped. Once it's painted, it's gonna look sweet. But yeah, right now it looks pretty bad just because of the different color contrast and everything, but it's gonna look really good in the end. That's my favorite angle right there. I really like that. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this process here, and if you did, subscribe, and if you want to see more, you know, subscribe and like the video if you liked it. I appreciate it. It helps grow the channel. We're at like 450 subs right now, which is awesome. I remember when it was like, you know, 100, and I was pumped. So shooting for 1,000, that's like, you know, that's gonna be a good milestone, I think. But yeah, so pretty soon I got this thing coming up. I'm gonna be doing a transmission rebuild, or maybe swapping the trans with a reman unit or something like that. This is my mailman's car. He blew up the transmission, so we're gonna have to fix this one. But yeah, stay tuned if you guys want to see that, or, you know, tons of other stuff. But yeah, thanks for watching. Peace.